complete. On to the next one. As we drive away, fourth circle coming, fight the pain.
baby. No signal from the Elgato. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 317. This is the Inside Line on Scuffed Epoch. I'm Drift Johnson. Welcome, everyone. It is 8 o'clock on the 15th of February. That would be a Sunday. We aimed to start early, but we had a bunch of stuff to finish, so that got done first. We're looking at nothing, because I'm trying to kick the cat. Come on, Elgato, wake up. Hey, we're back. All right, welcome everybody. Let's see who's in the chat. Mr. Fernicar, Battlecruise Operational, likes and subscribe. Now, where were we? Mr. Dragon Diffusion, good evening, good evening. Fernicar says, we have audio. That's always a good start. So yeah, welcome back everybody. We've been busy week. Lots of cool things happened. Opus 4.6 dropped. I've been using it a lot with Max. I've dropped a bunch of stuff in the Inside Line, which we'll cover in detail. But first, how about we take a quick look at the rundown? So obviously, as usual, we're going to be at the Inside Line. The link is in the description for our Discord. I pretty much chuck everything in there. I was thinking about making it an announcements channel, but I fear that it will deaden all of the old content. There are rules about how old things can be, so I have to look into that, because I'd rather keep it as an because it's got a lot of old links in there. Maybe I'll extract them and make a website, who knows. But welcome everybody, if you're watching live or if you're watching later. This is, as I say, episode 317. We're doing weekly shows at the minute because I'm a very busy man. I hope you're also busy too, or not, if that's what you prefer. The main image on the left there is a zoom in on a Nihei Principles derived zero prompt profile. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of work. You should pretty much just check out the repos on the Mushroom Fleet GitHub for the fastest way to see what's going on. But the second way is obviously the Inside Line, which is pretty much what we're going to be covering. So first of all, pretty cool image, isn't it? 21:9 with Nano Banana. So this is the Nihei Building Principles skill. We're going to be taking a look at a collection of those later, because I've now got a full suite. Obviously these can be loaded in as skills. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know if they need tweaking to be used with open code. It's something I want to look into next. Now we've got a big selection of skills for use with Claude Code. Obviously they work with Claude Web as well. But they were all derived from system prompts that were originally agnostic, so I'm not really tying into anything that's Claude specific. What the heck was that? Feedback. Sorry, Microsoft Feedback is trying to photobomb the show. Hang on a sec. Okay. So Nihei Building Principles skill. I have created a whole suite of building principles skill. They are advisors that can help you with planning. And they cover all different, they're all sort of creative masters of their trade. So Satomi Nihei is famous for a whole bunch of different projects. You might have heard of Knights of Satonia or Blam. There's a whole bunch of other things, and there are others in that collection, but we'll get to that. So as you can see, this is some of the artwork that was produced with Nano Banana, and that would be with the typical sort of cross-hatching style that you would expect from that type of thing, with the giant architecture. Anyway, moving on. We've got Narrative Spittoon in version 4, the Claude Code plugin. Try and say that with a mouthful of jelly. The Claude Code plugin. So it is my Spittoon scribe, but turned into a plugin. So as you can see here, you get a bunch of commands which are essentially going to create the story. If you have the NSL, it works with the NSL format, but it will guide you through the whole process. All you really need is a law book, just like the website that we built, and then it will go ahead and write the book for you. Results were not bad. I still think you need Uno to give it a pass at the end, but it's very good for building out stories, so it does exactly what it says on the tin. Next up is Ace Trainer UI. So we did release the trainer. We'll be looking at that in a bit, and I'm going to release the Sleepy Platano V2, which is the test music LoRa based on 2 of my albums. So the music you're listening to right now, that's my music. But unless you've got me turned down and you're listening to your own music over the top, of course, that's your music. But no. The radio station that we play while we're doing these shows, I've used 2 of the albums to do the train. I am considering 2 things, and we'll get into that because there's a couple of things that are cool about this. We built our own. It's a local trainer, so it runs on your machine. And, well, it's right here. So this is the local trainer for Ace Step 1.5 Turbo. It'll train LoRa's for you. You add tracks. It has a caption system to make the captions. And so that builds the database, right? So you add tracks, caption them, give it a trigger. Standard stuff, really. Give the thing a name. And then you can export the zip file or go over to the trainer tab where we can use dataset, convert to Hugging Face format, and then choose your... I just use that. I just use balance myself, but I don't think I changed anything. Once I finished this, the current release that's on GitHub is 1 version behind, so I'm going to publish this update. The 2 things it added was the captioning, because obviously I had to make my own audio classification system, right? There isn't really a freely available audio classifier that you can just download and use in your own code. So I kind of had to build my own with image bind from Meta. But it could be better. I need to make it better. It's good, but it's basic, if that makes sense. It does the job, though. So like I say, when you're actually there on the dataset editor, you click the auto caption button, and it gave me hip-hop, instrumental, 808 bass and turntable, scratching and drum machine, gritty and hypnotic, 70 BPM D-sharp minor for that 1 track there. And then for this track, it's doing it, you know. I think it could be a bit more accurate. It's probably got a limited range of captioned options, because what I've done is I've given it candidates which it knows the vectors for, and then it compares what it hears with what it knows and tries to match. So that's what it's trying to do, okay? But I think its vocabulary could be better, because I don't know what the vocab is for that model, you know what I mean? If I did, I could make it better, so work in progress. But the new version that's going to go up after this show will have the captioning system. Obviously, you'll have to download that model. I think it's only like a couple of gigabytes. And obviously, it's not loaded at the same time as the trainer, so... Hey, Zeus194, welcome to the show. Glad you could make it. So yeah, we're just talking about the Ace Step Turbo LoRa trainer. So I realized that there are nodes now. While I was building this, somebody made nodes which you could use. So what I did was I took my version and I compared my version with those nodes to see if there was anything that I missed. And aside from the fact that I know the vocab for Ace, Dragon, I need to have a chat with you about the vocab for Ace. Because if I add it to my captioner, we'll have a really good captioner and I can retrain the model again. Thank you. Thank you, Dragon. But yeah, so the idea is... where is it? Convert to thing. Let's just skip to the end here. Yeah, I improved it. So he did have some ideas that I hadn't used. So I think I used the grad accumulation 4 and the cosine restarts were taken from the ComfyUI trainer nodes implementation. The difference is I don't do 1 track at a time, you know. This is for large data sets. It trained just fine on a 4090. I assume if you put it to conservative mode, it's going to fit into a 16 gig. But again, full source, so you can just play with it. So, but anyway, it worked, and I have a workflow which I tested it with. You know, it's a derivative of the workflow we released for the Ace Studio rendering. It doesn't take long. Once the first run is done, the first run is slow because it has to load everything. But after that, it's like, I don't know, probably less than a minute to do 3 minutes 20, which is very fast. And I don't know, I think I just basically loaded it up with my LoRa. So I got Sleepy Patano. I got V2 now. I've been testing Sleepy. Where's V2? Oh, I have to refresh the page. Anyway, let's get that out of the way for now. So obviously it's a Funk LoRa. so it will try to make whatever you prompt funkier if you use my trigger. That's how it works. I'll be putting the LoRa on Hugging Face in a little bit, so if you have the 8-step audio workflow from last week, you'll be able to load that in, and it doesn't sound as good as the stuff I make, but it is, you can hear it, and I did like a blind test of no LoRa versus LoRa fixed seed, same prompt, and you can hear it, you know what I mean? So I still think that the captioning could be better, so yeah, we'll probably do a little update on that next week when Dragon has, because like I said, I'll show you the source code in a second. It's actually quite interesting. But anyway, let's move on. Ace Trainer UI. It's up on GitHub. So next what we did was we did the ComfyUI prompt batch extractor. So, whoops, that wasn't clever. Oh good, I only minimized it. That would have been fun. So Nihei building principles, we spoke about that. The Nihei building principles comes with the ENH, which you can use as a system prompt to enhance any of your prompts with a Claude Code or a GPT. I've showed you how to do that. You just copy this file into the system prompt, and yeah, it will flavor Nihei style. You know, that's what the ENH system does. We also have the skill, which can be installed to Claude Code, Claude CLI, and then that will give you the assessment. And essentially, he comes in as an advisor. It's an advisory agent based on the building principles of Tsutomu Nihei. What a legend. So we have the Nihei building principles. All of the actual source for everything is in here. Okay, so if you don't want to just install the skill, you can just, you know, you can package it yourself. We have the grounding, which was used to actually build the whole thing out, so you can see where we actually did our research to build this. And then inside the zero, these are for my zero custom nodes. So when you want to do zero prompt generation, so that means prompt generation from 0 bytes, these are the various profiles that can be used to steer the generation. One for the ENH, which is the enhancer, so prompt in gets enhanced with this flavor. Zero Nihei, I believe, is for the actual zero prompt, so that means it just makes prompts from nothing. And then these are the various edit styles. So obviously you use Nano Banana, Quen Edit. You want instruct prompts. So this is going to give you instruct prompts, a general use, creatures and persons only, an architecture, which will probably remove people, to be honest. But this makes millions and billions of prompts, so you just keep on asking for different ones until you find something you like and lock it in. So yeah, it's a very cool system. And you'll find I'm doing this for a lot of them now. So that's part of the whole thing, is just giving you like a comprehensive, multi-pronged attack route. Narrative Spittoon, obviously the plugin, we spoke about that earlier. The main difference with plugins is they're like a collection of skills and they can run scripts. So they are a little bit more powerful, and that gives us the ability to write the entire book in reverse with a faithful Narrative Spittoon inversion process. So it does do exactly what it's supposed to do. Obviously you come with your own last page. I won't get into it, we spent hours on this, but it's all there, and now it's a Claude Code skill. I'm hoping to adapt this to Open Code and Kimi, so that's coming soon. Anyway, Ace Trainer UI, so this is the source code. It's up, guys, okay? I'm not just like sitting on it. I do have an update though, so this won't have the captioning system or the improvements from the nodes that I was talking about earlier, so watch out for an update. But other than that, this is the full code, so you know, you could always just build off of this if you want. Anyway, it makes LoRa's for Ace Trainer. You just need to add music. Local train. Very cool. I had a lot of fun making it. Opus 4.6 with Claude Code and a single TIMS plan built the entire thing. Okay, next. So this one is a very simple one. It's Comfy Prompt Batch Extractor. So I'm going to show you how you do this, guys. It's super easy. You just download the README and run it. That's how I'm doing a lot of stuff now. Download the README and run it. There it is. And he's running locally, so that means I can get around a lot of permissions. Hello, Mr. Dominic. Welcome, welcome. Glad you could join us. So if I take a look at this now, let's say I want to add a bunch of WAN images. Let's say we add 2 WAN images here, yep. Some Valkyries. Oh, it didn't work. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends' windows. Hang on a second. Let me just get those again. Oh my god, nothing. Got anything here? Okay, let's get two of this girl. She's new. Oh, you can't even see her. Okay, so the point is, what this does is really cool. So you may be like me and you have many images from ComfyUI. All right, you may have many images from ComfyUI. Here she is. Well, she's a new girl. Top secret. Part of the Valkyrie collection. Purple hair, you see. Anyway, I'm not getting into that. The point is, I have these images and I don't know what the prompt was. Because, you know, it was a randomly generated prompt. It went through a bunch of enhancers. There was probably an LLM involved. What was the prompt? I don't know what the prompt was. But I make a gamble. In that metadata header, chances are the longest string is your prompt. Now, in the case of edit and instruct, that's not going to be the case, but it is going to be in there, right? Now, sometimes if you have a bunch of system prompts, which are really long, they are going to obviously be longer. So you can't really easily say, because it's not always in a field called prompt. Often it's in a field with a number, with an input or something, okay? So often it is the case, depending on what the workflow, because you may have used different nodes. You know, we have like an interesting unknowns issue to solve here, right? We don't really know what the, in the workflow, what the prompt value is called, right? What is the name of that parameter in that metadata? It may be many things. And so you could make a big old library of what they might be and keep adding to it endlessly. But I decided to go, let's go with the longest prompt solution, right? And so what we've ended up doing is giving you this intuitive system. And what it does is it lets you offset. I'll show you. So it's quite easy, right? So I've loaded my image in. And right now, it does show me something, but it's got a load of junk in there because it's not actually the prompt. It's like some garbage. But if I go to the next one, we've got Nihei enhanced prompt. So this one came out of the enhancer. So this is the prompt. If I go to the next one, use the woman with long purple hair, right? Okay, if I go to the next one, MAT style anime. Oh, look, it's got a trigger in there. So when you think about it, you do all kinds of like prompt combinations and whatnot. Usually you add your trigger for the LoRa. So basically like this is the full prompt, isn't it? Because it's actually got the trigger in front, right? So you've got all this other stuff. But that wasn't actually, but you know what I mean? So like you could say, because this would have been the generated prompt. Then it got put through the LLM. And then it got tweaked again. You see what I mean? So essentially you can choose yourself. You could approve it, right? Get the right numbers. You can put loads in here. And then when you get to the end, you export them all as text. And because they mimic the name of the image, you drop them in. Boom. You've just captioned all of your stuff with the correct prompts. You see? So, yeah, you have to play around, but then you know it's right. And you can bang out a massive list. Because I find if I want to add like 8 of my best images to gallery, they may have been from different workflows, different models. I don't really know. So what we did was we just smashed this out with Opus 4.6, Claude Code. Super simple. Comfy prompt batch extractor. So it's going to read the metadata, give us a little offset, allow us to, so I've set it now, and then I can export those. Now I've got the captions. And then when I want to add my images to gallery, I've got it. Videos glitching, says Profi. Welcome, Profi. Twig and Berries is here. Many, 186 gigabytes. God damn, that's a lot of images. So anyway, this is one way of doing it. We've got nodes that do the same thing. They're also available. We'll be looking at them in a bit. Okay, boom. So batch extractor UI demo. Obviously, you could take this code and tweak it. You know, that's open source. So, right. Next on the menu is Holographic Tins JSX. It has a V1 beta. This is essentially a concept. So, what you do is you have an EXE or an MSI installation. It makes a desktop app on your desktop. It's like a chat, but it doesn't bother with all of the nonsense. The back end is Claude Code. So this is a new concept. It's like a front end wrapper. All it does is it sits with you have Claude Code installed in the background. I aim to adapt this for open code later. So we're proving it out with Claude Code now. But the idea is that whenever you ask for something, say an app, it would make, this one is the JSX version, okay? So this is my concept, right? Whenever you say, make me a calculator, it's going to immediately make a JSX and then wrap it in an HTML and then present it to you. So you know all the app builders that you see, right? It's essentially that, but it's limited scope to JSX HTML for simplicity, okay? And it works. And like I said, when you get your app back, I let you promote it to like a desktop, like a virtual desktop, because the idea is it's apps on demand in real time at runtime, right? So I don't know what you want, so you get an app that builds the apps, and it's doing it all with Claude Code. So there's no complicated anything. It's like a 3 megabyte Tauri exe. It's so simple. It's running on Rust, so it's super cool. But this is, like I said, the intro. We've actually finished this, so it's available in beta. You know, you've got all the different versions here somewhere. If I go to releases, it's available in beta. I did, you know, all of the stuff when we were testing it is still here. But the idea is simple, right? It just uses Claude Code in the back end. So if you have Claude Code on your system, and hopefully Open Code in future, you get this cool front end that allows you to make your app, whatever it is that you want, and then it sits as an icon on a virtual desktop, right? So that's the concept. It works great, but I wasn't content with that, so we'll come back to it, because I've done a TypeScript version with React now, and it's even better, but I'm still testing it, so that will be coming up. 0 bytes portrait is like a little joke sort of thing we did. It's SVG generation with millions of layers. The idea is you put your image in, and then it abstracts that to a crazy number of shapes to try and recreate the image. It's like another SVG experiment. I'm not going to go on about it, because if I'm being honest, it worked kind of okay, you know. But it was an interesting concept, and you can muck about with that. Like I say, we do a bunch of SVG stuff. It's fun. Anyway, leaving that one for everyone to play with. So now we get on to some of the new sites. So welcome everybody. If you're still with us, thank you for continuing to join us. This is episode 317. We're usually here every Sunday, and this is going to be one of my latest creations. This is the Persona Creator based on the Tarot system, but it's not really based on the Tarot system. Let me explain. Mobius wrote the Inkle, and in that the main character is based on the story of the Fool. And so I took inspiration from this analysis and did a bunch of research to find out that Mobius actually had his own version of the tarot. And so we did a bunch of research and we tried to reconstruct it as best as we could. And then what I've done is I've used Nano Banana with one of my characters to illustrate every single card. And we actually have a Claude Code skill which is used to create deep and realistic characters using the same tarot system that was used for the Inkle. Because the Inkle's a great story. If you've never heard of it, it's INCAL. Anyway, the point is that this does three things. It does assessment, it does consultation, and it does creation. So in assessment mode, he'll look at your story and he'll see if he can apply retrospectively the tarot to your characters that you already have established. For the consult, he will take a plan and do it before you've written. So this would be great for padding out your stories for the scribe or for story generation. And then finally, the one that we're going to look at, this website, it does an interactive mock demo of the creation process. So you can get a feel for how that tarot system actually is being used by the skill. Because obviously when you use a Claude skill, it's just a bunch of text. You don't really get to see what it's doing. You just get the reports at the end, right? So what this does is it actually visualizes it with a fully realized tarot deck, so you can actually see what it does. You should get a different read every time, but remember, there's no LLM component, so this isn't enriched by the intelligence of whatever LLM you use. So let's take a look. So if we take a look at this, it's going to start us off with the creation. So I'm just going to say, let's call it Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, and my character concept is a retired wizard. Okay, and we're going to draw the cards. So we get death. Oh no! Don't worry, it's not inverted death. So this is the fundamental psychological force your character embodies. When they walk into a room, the energy shifts. Every other layer of the persona will be filtered through this archetypal lens. So we scroll down and we continue. So it says here, identify core energy. Okay. Go to the next one. We get polarity determination. Oh crap, it's upside down. I just said that's not, there's going to be a problem. Anyway, so the character's current polarity is where they exist on their current card spectrum right now. It's not permanent. Polarity can shift across an arc. The most dynamic characters tend towards tending or oscillating states. So reversed is change resistance, fear of ending, stagnation, decay without renewal. These are all excellent concepts. You see, you can't just say my character is funny. You know, this gives you much more complexity in the depth of the character design. And it can change over time according to a well-understood system that's sort of ingrained. You know, they know what this is. So we're hijacking it for our purposes. Then we get to the journey position. So we have the origin. And then we have the identity formation, the inner truth, cosmic forces, and integration. So, position on the journey. Placement determines where they've been. Lessons accepted, rejected, or forgotten. Where they are, current archetypal challenge, and where they're headed, or what they're refusing to face. Now we're going to do the situational domain. We get 4 of Pentacles, which is material and body, or earth. Now all of this is really cool context which can pad out, because it's not going to put this in the story. It's going to use the dynamic relationships to kind of add depth to character and meaning. It might even give you emergent reactive sort of behavior inside the story when it's being written, which is kind of interesting. Because this is the idea of using a world model to write a story rather than trying to just use RAG to replicate a style. It's more like you have a scenario and you have rules about how all of these entities interact. You have a rough idea of what should happen, but you kind of let them exist in that world and then try to like capture that as text. So, a little bit more like a video game where you're just writing down what happened. And it's all procedural to a certain degree, but there's like a storyline you're following, yeah? Anyway. So, the secondary card assignment. Minor Arcana card creates tension with the Major Arcana. This tension is productive. It produces layered characters organically without the designer needing to force those specifics. So we go again. So now we get to the social operating mode. This is the court card. Now, if you're familiar with tarot, I'm sure you know a lot more about this system, but I hope that you can see how the parallels are serving the process of padding out the character depth. Because obviously if you have to say, oh, this man is an engineer and he used to be in the Navy, that does come with a lot of inferred dynamics, but this takes it to a different level. So I do think it's interesting. The implementation side will be not allowing this to infect it too much, you know? So you don't want suddenly everyone to be carrying cards around, right? So hopefully that's going to be the skilled part of it, but I think it works. This is going to be overly explanatory for a tutorial. Court card does not match the Minor Arcana suit. Your character is King of Swords, intellect and conflict, operating in a pentacle situation, material and body. This creates a character who brings air energy to a domain of earth. The Commander. So now we have the Arc Engine. And this is really interesting as well. So for the lesson the archetype offers, how does your character respond? This single decision drives the entire character arc. Do they accept? Integrate the lesson. Growth occurs. Arc progresses forward. Reject. Refuse the lesson. Harden. Arc calcifies into rigidity. And then forget, which is the default. It gives you a suggestion, by the way, but it does let you choose. So glimpse the lesson, then lose it. The arc loops, doomed to repeat. So that's what we're going to choose. But phase 5 is the trichotomy. The most complex characters show different trichotomy responses at different scales. A story-level forgetter might have scene-level moments of acceptance, brief flashes where they grasp the truth before the loop pulls them back. So then we go shadow architecture. The shadow is not a separate entity, it's the same energy turned inward, corrupted or denied. Even upright characters should show traces. The shadow should be felt as a gravitational pull. So there we have it. Death. The 4 of Pentacles. and the King of Swords. And that gives me my persona dossier. So this is what the output should be, or something similar to this, with the create function in the skill. But the difference is that because this is going to be running through an LLM, you can have him actually, you know, dosed up with a bunch of context. So it's not just going to say like templates. These are all like template stubs, I call them, which would be expanded or otherwise customized to whatever it is you're working with. So it's going to be this, but it's going to be transformed to whatever content you're trying to work with. So this is literally like the template, I guess you could say, of what will be presented. So if we draw again, just to show you, it's not just on Rails. I'll just go test. You can type anything because it's not. There's no LLM. So we get the hermit. It's going to explain that. We go to the next one. It's upside down. Oh no. We get the inner truth. We go again. We get 8 of cups. And by the way, we built this with my skills and the input system, all with the banana workflows. And it's very simple to do now. I know some of them are a bit inconsistent, but we used the same character input for the whole thing, just for fun. Yeah, minor arcana. She's going to accept it. Okay. So test gets the hermit, the 8 of cups, the queen of swords, and it does give the correct stubs, if you see what I mean. But the magic isn't really there because this is explaining how the skill works. Because obviously when you see a skill, it's like, well, what the hell does the skill do? And this is one of 3 functions that the skill does. The other 2 functions, assess mode, and I did leave this in. This is a little joke, by the way. I said use mock data, and we got a Lara Voss. If you know, you know. But the point is that this is the sort of assessment you're going to get for your characters, right? So say I put a story into this that I've written, it's going to write an assessment, which is, it won't look as graphical because obviously I've got, you know, I've generated, it'll just say the name of the card and then the values, right? But we've done a visualization to make it look good, you know. Obviously this was built with, it's funny, the prompt for this was use my skill to create a visualization website using all these thumbnails I've made that match the names of the cards and demonstrate the create with no LLM because we know, yeah, see, dragon's just a Lara, yep. I did say use mock data. But yeah, so it generated the site for us. I don't think it used Vite, it just literally made the, well, I don't remember actually. Anyway, so the last crossing, tarot persona consultation, right? It gives you the full thing. It's pretty cool. I love it. So consult. Advise on story planning and cast design. Here's a mock consultation for my sample project. Right. It says, these 3 strangers meet on a ferry crossing a flooded valley that was once their shared hometown. Each has returned for a different reason. The water is rising. Okay. So yeah, like I said, it's an interesting little, it's like a depth multiplier for character design, and it's silent. You see what I mean? It's not forcing you to use this. It's just the idea of being able to architect personas for various different reasons. They could be chat buddies. They could be, you know, assistants. Anyway. Or obviously characters in your story, which is what I use them for. I tend to sketch out how the characters interact, and then I let them go nuts. And the story emerges along, you know, along the path. Anyway, that's the process. You go backwards, so I know where I want to end, and I've got rules of how people interact, and then I let it go backwards, like it's more of a world model approach, to be honest. Anyway, here are the 7 core rules. Obviously this is available at scuffedepoch.com/tarot-persona, and there are actually, I think there are links. Are there links to all of the things? There should be links to all of the things. Maybe not. Learn how it works. Does it have the link to the things? It may have been that when I built it, it didn't know where the things were. But I can tell you they're on GitHub. You'll find them next to the One Piece. Tarot Persona Creator Skill. This isn't the website, but this is the skill. So here is the grounding. There is the implementation. And there is the skill. All right, there's a skill.md to know, like, obviously the skill is like a zip file which contains the skill MD and all the grounding and everything. You see what I mean? So there's a bunch of extra files in there, I guess. Obviously, feel free to check them out. Yeah, there you go. Look, see what I mean? There's actually a whole bunch of stuff in here. It's not just, one MD file. It's a whole bunch of stuff now. And the nice thing is the plugins take it further by allowing you to do collections of skills with Python scripts. That's the coolest thing about plugins. So then you've got Claude Code with skills. He can run his own Python now. So anyway, very cool. Why Tarot and not other systems? So Tarot describes how people move, their trajectory, their shadow, and their transformation potential. Doesn't describe how they are, it describes how they move. So that's better for story writing, I think. We break it down here. A character described as brave, funny, loyal tells you nothing about how they behave under pressure, what their contradictions feel like from the inside, or why their worst moments feel connected to their best qualities. These characters require the author to manually decide every action because the character has no internal engine. So Tarot Persona Creator replaces trait lists with archetypal architecture. So there you go. That's the idea, and this is like a starting point. We'll probably develop this further, but this is a great starting point to illustrate how it works. And obviously we've got a link to the website. So thank you for sitting there and going through that one. We now have, as promised, Beyond Tribonacci. This is a reference to last week where I said I'll get this done and forgot about it. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. But this is the full course, guys. All 16 lessons. We've already looked at this in a previous show, but it was all separated on a GitHub that you could clone to your machine. Now, it's all online, so you go to scuffedepoch.com/beyond-tribonacci. So this was inspired by the work from we did the David Braben principles skill, David Braben building principles, and that led to 0 bytes, because obviously Tribonacci is good, but that was 1988 or something. It's 2026, so we can do better. So we had Claude give us a modernized approach that is 0 bytes, which is the procedural determinism expert or whatever, right? Position as seed fundamentals. All right. So every single one of these lessons has an interactive demo, which explains the concepts that you're working with. Every single one. And then obviously, if you go to the GitHub link, you've got the JSX source. So you can play with the JavaScript, you can chuck it in a playground and muck around with it. You've also got the link to the GitHub that includes all the documentation for every single lesson. And it's got all 16. So you end up having mastered procedural determinism with position as seed. So it's 0 bytes. Everything is in 0 bytes is the concept. But at the end of it, we get this beautiful thing. So let me show you the CPU version first. So here we have sequential versus parallel. And as you can see, it's on par, right? 1,701 milliseconds versus 1,701 milliseconds. We expect to see it being like noise over here because that's what it is. Over here this is David Braben's solution, right? Which is why it's striped. Okay. And like I said, the difference. So in sequential Tribonacci, most compute cells go 0 to n. Each state depends on the previous 3. There's the formula. You cannot parallelize, and it's 0n to reach any cell. Now, so, if it's 0, 7, anyway, I think you get it. So the point is with parallel hash, any cell is computed independently. Position is the seed, so it's hash xy seed. And this is fully parallelizable, right? So as you can see at the moment, it's parity. It's on parity. It's the same. Yeah? But that's because we're not using the parallelization. So if I just switch over to the final lesson, which is the web GPU version, boom. Now we check it out. The visualization always looks the same because, it would just instantly be finished. So we got 245 milliseconds versus 1,553. So that's 6 times faster. But here's the thing. If I run it a second time, my GPU's actually initialized now. Now it's 5.4 milliseconds, which is 250 times faster. And I think with caching, we can get it down even further. So again, if I continue, you know, my GPU is like, oh yeah, I've cached this now. 376 times faster. But it's a good demonstration of how you can implement web GPU, okay? Because it's all included in the work documents, and it gives you some explanations here down here. So anyway, infinite worlds, interactive speeds. So that is beyond Fibonacci. It's the full course, and essentially this course is what led to the 0 bytes skill. That's where the 0 byte skill comes from. All of this, it's all part of the same research project, and I just turned it into a big educational thing because I thought, damn, we've got all these, they look really good. Do we have the thing I kept using here? So this one I actually used, no wait, not, is it that one? No wait, it's not that one. I used one of these, is it this one, layered terrain? Yeah, it's this one. So I used this for the terrain in a couple of the games that we have. A couple of the games we built used a lot of the JSXs, you know, as their core, sometimes port to TSX, sometimes to Python, depends what we were doing. But it's all here. Right. Moving on. I've made so many windows for some reason. Okay, a little bit of a joke project now. The QWERTY maximum torture. We wanted to know to make a person move their fingers as far as possible. What words do we need to use for our company name? So blanket stowage. It's going to make you move your fingers in an awkward way. This is the sort of thing, you know, we ask a silly question and then ask him to make a website. So this was just done for fun. So some of these are really silly. Papaya Gospel, that would be a good one. Just make you, anyway, messing around. So now we get back to something a little bit more useful. This will be the full Mushroom Fleet skills directory. You can imagine this a little bit like if you go to something like Claudebot, you're going to see a lot of skills on offer. And these are all custom skills that I've written for various purposes. So it's a very similar idea. Obviously, you've got all of the building principle skills. So there would be Carmack and Romero for first-person planning, first-person shooter planning. David Braben principles. So that's where we get the beyond Fibonacci and the 0 bytes we were just looking at. The From Software building principles, because they have some really cool atmospheric dimensions for doing design of character art and things like this. Elden Ring, obviously, I think you might have heard of. Kojima building principles, there's a lot of Stigmergic stuff in there, surprisingly. He likes his Strand games at the moment. Nihei building principles, so this would be infinite architecture type stuff. Toriyama was an interesting one. He's got some really cool ideas about how you should do faces in character art regarding cartoons and illustrations. And then we have the Torvalds building principles for clean code. So that's a good one as well. Now these can form a sort of round table which can be used to improve plans. So we do a lot of that. Over on the profile builders section, these are all skills which are used to take your prompt lists or prompt enhancement source sort of system prompts, and you can convert them into JSON profiles, which are essentially word pools with custom templates, and that gives you infinite procedural deterministic prompts or enhanced prompts. So this is for just making the prompt. A prompt comes in, it enhances it, and a prompt comes out, right? And then the final one, sorry, I got that the wrong way around. This one makes prompts, this one enhances prompts, and the one on the left is edit. So this is the edit instruct version. So it's going to give you, you know, crazy edit, right? You click button, it gives edit. And obviously the JSON that you're tuning it with is going to keep it on Rails. It's very powerful. And the nice thing is you get the same prompt. You know, if you put the number in, you get the same prompt. The thing about LLM enhancers, which are higher detail than this, and actually I run these through an LLM at the end to get the best of both worlds. But the thing is that you can't get your enhanced prompt again, if you know what I mean, unless you capture it, which is probably the wisest thing to do. But often is the case that you'll be doing a prompt which is being enhanced by an LLM somewhere, and then you don't get that enhancement twice. So it's very difficult to try and reproduce. Okay. The full directory features all the skills. So let's see, where's the ones that weren't in those two collections? The juice dev. So this one is for adding the juice. So that would be all of the various different, shake, screen shake, animation bounce, sound effect delay, particle effects, sort of, it's the juice. What do I want to say? You evaluate your source code or your plan with the juice, and he will give you a advisory implementation plan. So you can increase the juice. The Tarot Persona Creator skill, obviously, character design and writing. We looked at the interactive demo for that. Plot Twist Principles, which is basically pulling J.J. Abrams and M. Night Shyamalan and a bunch of older authors for the purposes of analyzing a draft for potential plot twist introduction. JoJo's Bizarre Design is Iraqi. This has got to be one of the best. It's the most fun. I used this one to do the tarot cards. The tarot cards were done with the Iraqi style zero prompt system. Tins for skills. So I think this is the actual Tins skill. Probably the most important skill. If you only get one skill that I've written, make sure it's Tins. Essentially, it will make anything for you in a README plan. And then you can run that plan with just about any LLM to make just about anything you want. I wouldn't normally say that, but we wrote it nearly a year ago, and it's future-proofed in the way that it benefits from new models' capability. So as the models get better, Tins gets better, and it continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. All of the best stuff I've built was built with the Tins in the pipeline. Every plan is a Tins. We execute the Tins. He gives me what I want. It's there's a number of ways you can use it, but I'm not going to go on about that because that would be its whole own video. Speaking of rambling, the added rambling skill introduces rambling. Literally, it just introduces rambling. It makes him go on and on about stuff. Added typos. This one makes him make mistakes, but they're random. And we didn't like that, so we used the 0 bytes skill to make my added typos skill deterministic. It now runs a Python script, so if it's not deterministic, your LLM isn't running the Python. But it does have the ability to make the same mistakes every time. And the typing mistakes it makes are based on a whole bunch of different patterns that you can also control. So what do I mean? For example, sticky keys that emulates a QWERTY layout. So he's going to make, the correct mistakes for that situation. Mistyping the same way for the same words. This sort of thing. It's done by seed. So if you ever needed to make the same mistakes every single time, except no substitute, Blender Retopology works with the Blender MCP skill. So if you've got Blender MCP, this is an example of how you can make a skill to interface with the Blender MCP. It doesn't just do retopology, it does a bunch of other stuff. But if you use Blender MCP, you might be interested in having a Claude Code skill that you can customize. So this works great. Take a look at that. The URL screenshot capture, this actually uses a bunch of different techniques. It doesn't just use the browser plugin, it actually uses the Chrome headless mode with no GPU to grab screenshots from URLs. It's very useful if you're trying to put together a website that needs thumbnails for a whole bunch of different sources, because you can just give him a list or make him write the list and then snag those little thumbnails, and then he can just use them in the code. It's all automated, you don't need to muck about. RunPod CLI, this is a little helper for Claude Code which you can use to create various different RunPod projects, Dockers and things. He's going to help you with administrating it using the actual RunPod CLI. So he's going to go ahead and do it all for you, on the command line. 0 bytes, position is seed. Yes, this would be the skill which I was talking about earlier. This is the 5 laws, access, 0-1 access, parallelism, coherency, hierarchy, determinism. I've used this skill to make a whole bunch of stuff, including endless, infinite 2D dungeons for video games like, RPG stuff, and then 3D worlds using the terrain simulator, so you can make endless, planet surfaces. The Robot Planet game used it. The various, to be honest, I'm going to be bringing out a big website. You'll be seeing it next week. If you don't, you'll see it earlier than that if you come on the inside line, but you'll be seeing it soon, because I'm putting together Biopunk Games. It's getting relaunched, and we're going to put all of the games in one site, just like this. And that'll be a nicer way to do things, I think. So all the games into one site is going to be the next thing. Finally, the Zero system, which has got nothing to do with proceduralism. This is actually about consequence-aware reasoning. So the concept is that blind victory is not victory. If you think about a chess game, AI is optimized to sacrifice the queen so he can win in 3 moves. However, we don't want him to sacrifice the queen. We don't even want him to sacrifice any pawns, ideally. But the problem is that when an AI system is built to be optimized, so, it's built for optimization, it's going to sacrifice anything it can to get that victory condition. And so this system aims to accommodate or achieve or mitigate is the word for that, by making him consider his actions. Okay, so I think it's a very nice little safety system that we've got here. There's red teaming up there. It's been out for a while though. All right, we're on to our last site, guys. I've been running through it as quick as I can. Bang! ComfyUI custom nodes, everybody. Let me sip my coffee real quick. So, ComfyUI custom nodes. We have over 200 of them now. So there are 20 node packs. Obviously, the Megapint is over 115 nodes, guys. So my DJZ nodes, it got too big. And that's why I had to start making dedicated nodes for different things. Because it just got too big, okay? I realised that. It was too many. 100 nodes was too many. It's fine, it's stable, but, Zeus says zero prompt is nice. Ah, thanks, man. Oh, and the tarot cards are cool. Thanks so much, dude. And yes, Elara did pop up. That was so funny, isn't it? But yeah, the zero prompt system is super cool. I've been using it in a bunch of my new workflows that I released. If you check out DJZ workflows on GitHub, you will see them there. All the latest workflows. But as you can see here, we got 2 collections. The zero prompt collection, which I've already been talking about just a bit. 188 trillion prompt collections from the default JSONs alone. And you can make your own with the skills, so it's basically unlimited. And by the way, if you don't use Claude, just take the skill.md and put it into a conversation. If you start the conversation with the contents of a skill.md, usually, even with a basic LLM, he'll get an idea of what you're trying to do. So you don't need Claude, it just works easier, right? Often, Gemini and the latest OpenAI, ChatGPT, they all work with this stuff too. So sometimes they just call it something different, like they'll call it a plugin or a system prompt or something, a system message. Whatever they might call it, just chuck the stuff in there, because all this is system agnostic for the most part. So it's not going to really be needing a specific thing. It's just that your output is going to be better or worse depending on how good your tool is. Anyway, so we have 4 zero prompt collection packs. So these are all the ComfyUI nodes. So we have zero prompt, 0 to JSON, 0 edit, and 0 ENH. Okay. So these systems will allow you to do, the procedural deterministic prompt generation using your own custom JSON files. You just slap them in a folder and refresh, and you can go ahead and start using them. You just need an LLM to make your own. I just convert my old prompt lists and my old prompt enhancers, but you can actually still use prompt enhancers as well. So you can get like the best of both worlds, as I say earlier. Does this have an info page? Yeah, it does. Look at that. We've got an info page with even the nodes. Look at this. Man, he did a great job. I gotta say, he did a great job with this website. And it was one prompt as well. One prompt and like all the, 200 things he had to check. It's crazy. So here is the DJZ Nodes Mega Pack. As you can see, there's quite a few nodes in here. But there is all sorts of useful stuff, so I do recommend to keep that. As for the rest of them, Off Square is a new one. That's a good one. I do enjoy that. Prompt Extractor we talked about earlier. But also don't forget about the standalone apps. So we have Flow Runner that was able to run chains of custom workflows using your local API. We also have Yesterday with the scheduling app. And we have the recovery system and the watchdog system. Recovery can install your system if it's completely dead, and then obviously watchdog can just make sure it's always online. And that's good when you're using the scheduler, which can schedule your workflows being run up to 3 months into the future. So there you have it. I don't think there's much more to say here because I've already been over it all. I will say though that all of the procedural stuff can feed into the JSON prompt builder, and also the variationator can be enhanced by the zero prompt ENH. So there's a couple of tricks you've got there. Right. And I think that's pretty much everything there. I don't know what... Oh, yeah, I know what that is. All right. Boom. So let's see what we got for you now. So the Ace Turbo Trainer. Like I was saying earlier, there it is. It's finished. Take a look at my results. Can it zoom in? Can we zoom in? Why are you zooming in on a different window? Close that. Close that, close that. Zoom in here. It's not zooming. Oh my god. Oh my god, what's happening? Okay, something weird was happening there. But yeah, so there is my result. In the end, it did okay. I'll admit right now, it needs better captioning. But it did finish. And when I tested it, it sounds good. So, I don't know. I mean, you know, if you compare it with what it was a success. The key thing, though, is the captioning. Like I said, the auto captioning. Let's see if I can show you the auto captioning, because that's going to be interesting before we disappear. So, let me see now. So, in my trainer, I have my image bind classification. Here we go. Classification pipeline. So it had to go in this format: genre, vocal, instruments, moods, tempo, key. Okay, but here's the thing. I had to do this: genre candidates. So do you see what I mean? I had to tell it, look, these are the genres you can pick. And then what he does, obviously, is he samples the music, gets vectors, and he tries to match the vectors to the known vectors for these. But obviously, if the model doesn't actually have this, it's just going to be an approximation, not a hit. So I really need to know what the actual genres were in the model. You see what I mean? Because it depends how they trained it. Like, this is maybe close. It should be close. But it's by no means comprehensive, which it needs to be a proper captioner. So I'd call this bare bones, you know what I mean? But essentially what it will do is it will make the do you know what I mean? It will make the captioner. You know, it will write the captions. It's using softmax. It's not crap. It is doing it, and it does seem to work. I mean, is it accurate? No, but it's very close, so it's serviceable. It is better than me typing it in to a point. You know, if you had like 100 songs, you wouldn't want to sit there and try to put them all in, because the trouble is, even if you did do it manually, humans are inconsistent. You're going to apply the same tags to different things inconsistently, because, you know what I mean, that's why you need a programmatic tool, because the programmatic tool is much more consistent in the even if it makes mistakes, even the mistakes are more consistent. So unless you're like a pro and you just don't make mistakes, which is a different thing. But that requires knowledge we don't have. So we don't even know if synthwave is an accepted genre. You see what I mean? Maybe it doesn't use the word electric bass. Maybe it uses something else, you see? So, but I've done my best with this. So I'm going to be pushing an update to the GitHub. And then you'll be able to train with what I actually used. Because obviously the LoRa I'm going to put out, that is... in fact, should we just do it now? Yeah, trigger is Johnson. I probably should just put it on Hugging Face, eh? Yo, I need to make a model. Yo, new model. It's gonna be called JX8. John sent, and then it's Sleepy Platano. So if you want to know which albums I trained, it's Platano Sucio and Sleepy. Those are the two albums from my collection that I trained for this. So you can hear the kind of tones that it's going to learn. I think it did a pretty good job, you know. I deliberately trained it as instrumental, so it didn't learn any of the sample words, right? But then they're not really words anyway, so I don't think it would have made any sense to do that, to be honest. We have our MIT. Put it on Apache. So we got public, yeah. Sleepy Platano. And it's V2 because the first one sucked. I used fixed captions, Assassin Carb style, to do the first train with like 5 songs, and it was bad. So I realized, I was like, nah, you got to caption it right. But I think that even one album captioned correctly is going to make a kick-ass LoRa, and it's probably only going to take 4 hours if you have set it up right. Although I elected to take longer than that because when I saw what he was doing in the ComfyUI nodes approach, I thought even though it's going to be slower than mine, it's probably going to make a better result, and I think it did. So I can't really just say it's just the captioning. I think it's a bit of both, but... And this isn't like an Udio beta or anything like that, alright? But it definitely beats a lot of the audio generation services that you can go and buy right now. Not the Primo ones. No. But the ones you can train, I'd say it's literally it's probably on par. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same stuff. But anyway, I'll put the LoRa out and you can check it out. So the John sent trigger, and then whatever you want, John sent style, baby. So let's just grab the files. There we go. Right, it's going to be the V2 5000, obviously. I'm just going to change the name of it, so it's just what I just said. There it is. Trigger equals Johnson. I don't know if style actually does anything, to be honest. I put John sent style in, but I don't even know if it really does anything. It probably does. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that early. Feels like 1.5 era. I think maybe we can get to SDXL era if Dragon can give me that that list of the correct terms, because then the next train will be even better, because it's always a thing. The challenge is caption alignment. Like if you had the full data, if I had the data set that it was trained on, which I know is nuts because it's going to be huge, but at least guidance, right, on what the most common terms were in the data set, that would enable me to make a custom captioner, which you can then accurately caption any music for perfect training. But it just doesn't exist. So part of the job is trying to work out what those classification terms actually are. I do have a rudimentary route built, and that's already released as well. So in the ENH system, which is not zero ENH, it's just ENH system. That's a system prompt loading system for ComfyUI. So in there we have the system prompt for ACE for enhancing your prompts to make them more aligned with, and that was trained on the example prompts that ACE step released. So it might be I can invert that into a captioner and use it with this system, but I really want to align with whatever Dragon shows me first. I think that'll be more successful. So anyway, trigger Johnson. I think that's done, There it is. And if I just show you the workflow real quick. Oh my god. So So if I just show you the workflow, it's a very standard workflow. We've already released this workflow, by the way. It's in DJZ Workflows under a step. So what you'll see is that we have the LoRa. This is the 5000. That's the same version that I just released. And what we've done is we've got it on random seed, okay? And then I've got the input, which you would normally put a prompt in. So this is a typical prompt I was using. John Cent style funk, instrumental, Chicago funk, dark, fast drift, 130 BPM. And what's going to happen is up here I have the enhancer I was talking about. So T2A, text to audio, ENH, Ace step 15 turbo. And as you can see, I've got the beginnings of my prompt with output the response as a one-line single paragraph without feedback or commentary. That goes into Claude Sonnet 4.5, and so using the logic of the assistant combined with what I asked for, it's going to put out something like this, which for better or worse may or may not be a good idea, but it's based on the guidance from the guys, so I can only go on what they told us, you know what I mean? But this is going to make something that sounds cool. It does sound good, right? And in the beginning, I'm going to add John Cent style funk instrumental just to make sure that it uses my trigger every time. And then bang, you throw it into the K sampler, the model sampling Auraflow 3. This is all defaults. Zero out on the negative, and then you get this. Let me see what we got. I haven't even heard it yet. I should probably turn the music off for a second. Hold up. I'll give it a chance, you know? Yeah, it's funky. It's funky. Yeah. It's even still building and evolving. I love it. All right, so this is great. Let's turn that music back on. Boom. So, like I say, guys, music training is here. Are you going to sleep? Are you going to sleep on music training? It's here. You can do it at home. And you know what the fun thing is? I think in the settings you can use FP8 or something like this to cut it down even further. So I reckon they're going to have this on 8 gigabytes soon. Maybe not my interface. You might have to fork it and do it yourself, right? But I'm pretty sure that this is going to be extremely, you know, it's going to be big. So Ace step audio 1.5 turbo. Literally 3 minutes 20 song. It took like less than a minute to generate, guys. I am taking my old back catalogue of music, I'm training it up, and I'm seeing what I can get. So hopefully I'll have a kick-ass optimizer. And here's the other thing. Even if you don't use my tool to train, you can make the data set with my tool. So hopefully you can benefit from what I get right with the captioner again. So good times, man. Because like I said, Udio's pretty much gone. Suno's really quite difficult to use. I don't know. If you want to just train on something edge, like you've got music that isn't common, you know, it's like it's if you're doing mainline stuff, like, yeah, it's got pop music and rock music and stuff. But if you're trying to do something that's like, I don't know, fringe, underground culture, anything like this, it can get a bit tricky. So, like I said, this allows you to train anything. So, there it is. Boom. A step trainer. Dataset editor with captioner, all local, right? I might build this into a Tauri, by the way. So you might just end up with an MSI installation. I don't know. It depends, because you know how it is. It's all Python and stuff, right? I think I used Streamlit for this one, which is the first time I've actually used Streamlit. I think this is Streamlit. Does it say anywhere on here? Let me just check. Streamlit. I've searched for lit. I got nothing, so I don't know. So anyway, expect an update over on the Ace Trainer UI. Let me just see if there's anything else I want to show you. Oh yeah, there is. There's one more thing I want to show you. So, it's not out yet. I just committed it. So, Holo TSX Tins. This is the successor to Holo Tins JSX. Now, this is so much better than the last one. This one is the V1 Alpha. So it's a MSI installation, okay, so it's for Windows. Sorry if you're not on Windows. I'm hoping to support other systems with this one though, right? So the idea is it's 3.6 megabytes. He's tiny. And the idea is that what he's going to do when we go public, as you can see here, it is a Tauri 2 desktop app that pairs a conversational AI chat with a live Vite React TypeScript build pipeline. Describe what you want, watch it compile into a working app on the right. The name reference is TINS. There is no source software distribution paradigm. Holo TSX generates full Vite React TypeScript projects from conversational prompts, plans the implementation using our TINS system, builds it for web distribution, and then renders the output live in an embedded preview pane. So you have, like you normally have, you have the chat, then you have the app on the right. The difference is this is running local on your machine, okay? It's not in the cloud, it's not pay per month, it's just on your machine. Now, obviously, you do pay for Claude Code, right? But if I can do this, why can't I do this with Open Code or with Klein codes, Klein CLI, for example? And then we can get Kimi doing it, or you can get a local model doing it. So that means it's software dev free. Software dev freedom is the pathway. I'm just showing that it's definitely working, right, by putting it like this. Because obviously, Claude Code runs, you install this, you have it. So it's that simple. And like I said, it's using TSX. Now, I'm sure there will be some bumps, because obviously with these sort of prototype concepts, the idea is that you take it and you use it. And, we put the plan out so you could build your own, right? I won't release the source code. I'll release the TINs. Because you can just run the TINs to make your own. And if you want extra features, you just ask for them. And that's the whole thing. But anyway, this is basically lovable on your desktop with Claude Code as a back end. All right? That's essentially what it is, or your Gemini Build Studio, But it's limited to React, TypeScript, Vite. Because I found that pretty much that's what I was building with. All my best stuff was built with that stack. So why not just make an app that does that? Now, for convenience, what I've done with this app, it's kind of cool. I wonder, can I just install it real quick and at least show it off? That'd be fun, wouldn't it? That'd be a nice way to cap it off, because this is experimental. So we get the installer. Whoa! We had a lively installation window there. Okay. Crash. Don't embarrass me in front of my friends. Hang on. Here it is. So here is the app. All right. So can we make that a little bit more obvious? Let's get rid of everything else. Get rid of everything else. It's his time to shine. No. Right. We're not going to go full screen. Should we make it a little bit bigger? Can we make it a bit bigger? I've not even tried to resize it. Can it be resized? It can be resized. So this is the Holo TSX renderer on the right. You can't see anything because there's nothing there. Probably on first run, it's going to do a bunch of weird stuff. So I'm going to give him something easy to do. I'm going to say, create an advanced scientific calculator. Yes. Go. Now I do have Claude Code on the system. All right. So prerequisites check. Okay. So it is currently hullabalooing and stuff. I had to add that myself, by the way. There's no API for it. You just have to make it yourself. But yeah. So he's doing the thing. Obviously, I plan to make this better and add features and stuff, but the idea is just such a simple idea. It says error here, which I'm a little worried about. It's probably because there's nothing here yet. But the nice thing about this is once you've made your app and you're happy with it, you click the promote button and there's like an old Windows style, like a retro desktop with a bunch of icons. So you can just quickly get back to your app again. So we're making like a holographic app tray where you create your stuff. And like I said, I'll just put this away and come back to it in however long, because it does take a bit of time to make. It's a proper app now. But the fun thing about this is you can download the... because obviously, if you don't know, what Vite does is it actually has a web deployment system built in, right? So when it's finished my plan, I'm going to just break down what's actually happening right now. So I have a prompt template, which is my TINS system prompt template. So it takes what you said and it puts a bunch of stuff that I would say and puts it after that. It then writes a plan with TINS, the skill, which is installed on Claude Code. It then executes the plan. It then validates that it finished the plan by writing another plan and then executing everything in that plan. It then installs npm. It does npm install to install the app. It checks all of the dependencies actually passed. If they don't, it does more work, right? And then when it's finished doing all of that, it then builds immediately for web distribution, which creates a dist folder containing an index.html. And all this front end does is scan for that file. If it doesn't exist, you get an error and it says, I'm building. And when this finishes, there will be an index in that folder and it loads it. It's very basic, actually. It's not, this is a bit of a magic trick, really. Claude Code does everything. We just tell him what to do, where to put it, and then we expect the file to be in the right place. So we're not, you know what I mean? It's just saying, okay, I'll just use Claude Code for my back end, and then just build a really lightweight front end wrapper on top to do what I want to do. And then you build the whole thing out with Tauri, so it's local. Everything's local. It's very cool. And obviously, because this seems to be the chosen route that everyone is going with, now you can just adapt this for open code, and then you can use Kimi, or because that seems to be the sort of other alternate favorite, you know. It's about the same kind of capability, but it's not Claude, you know. It's just different models. And I believe that this time next year, you're going to have local models that are on par with the current paid AIs anyway, because you're starting to see the gap getting closer and closer all the time. Anyway, it's just a theory. But like I said, what this is going to do, if hopefully, as long as he doesn't embarrass me in front of all my friends again, what he's going to do is he's going to give me the app. We're going to be able to export the HTML from that dist folder. So then you've got an HTML you can use in future projects, whatever you want, host it, whatever. You've also got the TINS export. So, you know, I said how when it built the app, it wrote a TINS. So you can just, it's already written. So you can just take that. The thing with the JSX was it actually looked at the final HTML and then did a new TINS, which is quite taxing. So this is a little bit easier than that. We have a build button. Just in case you need to do that again. But yeah, the promote and the app tray is the most fun thing. It should be fire and forget, so I should be able to show you. So as I can say, look, Windows XP, everyone. Or is it Windows 3.1? We have a library of all of our, you know, our history. So obviously everything would be here. You can favorite them if you want. But it's just rudimentary, really. This is just what you would expect to have. I wonder how long he's going to take over it. It does make you wonder. I did think about having like some kind of, you know, like a thing, like a feedback. But this is the thing. I want it to be hands off and just go, just let Claude do it. Just let Claude do it. And then when you come back to this, there will be that, you know, the file will be there now. So that's pretty much the whole attitude with this. And then ultimately, once you've got a bunch of apps, they're all in the app tray anyway. It's kind of cool. A status bar. Yeah, I thought about it. I thought about having a status bar. At the moment, it just shows you are connected. But it's kind of like the nature of how it does it, because it's got its own Rust orchestration of Claude Code. So it's doing it in a funny way. What I'll probably do is I'll probably open source the dev for the JavaScript version. Because what I did was I used the JavaScript version to build this version anyway. So you've pretty much got the source code there. Man, it's taking forever. I gotta go in a minute. Hang on a sec. Is there anything else I need to tell you guys? Oh yeah, there is actually. Yeah, there is. I got a new website. What, another one? You just spent 2 hours going on about it. Hang on a sec. So I've been rebooting Origin. Hey, I've rebooted the Origin website, guys. So the Origin website used to be a bit stale because I made it a year ago. And we've rebuilt it. This one is serverless Cloudflare, so it's no longer on my server. It's now in the cloud. It doesn't really exist. But anyway, the point is you can search by all the various things. I do have a lot of tagging cleanup to do. Essentially, it will link you to wherever. Every time you load the page, you get a different selection of stuff. You can apply your filters to find all of the different things. It's using vectors, and it's using workers. It's a Cloudflare Firebase extravaganza. And the best thing about it is I now have a new showcase, which is going to basically replace the DJZ gallery that I used to have, because this is easier for me to use. And what's even nicer is unauthorized domain name. I need to do some work. I just migrated it over to the actual domain name. Looks like I didn't give permission to the cause. That's my fault. But basically, if I log in here, I've got like a full edit. I got full edit with Nano Banana Pro. So I can just go ahead and pick. I got loads of my stuff in there now. And I can go ahead and pick things, promote them to, whatever. And yeah, it's getting pretty cool. Obviously, I need to update a bunch of stuff. But essentially, it's going to be like a new thing I'll be using on the show a lot. And like I say, all of the projects from the GitHub are on here. What is it? I don't even know. 237 GitHub repos in the open source category. So hopefully they're all good and they're not junk, because we used Claude to build the whole thing out in record time. See, I think there's a couple of them that have the wrong thumbnails. But the thing is, we used my screenshot skill to take all the thumbnails. This was the project that proved out that tool, you see. I think 237 thumbnails into a vector embedded gallery is probably good for a single prompt, don't you? And by the way, I did give an example of what that prompt is. So if you take a look over in the inside line and we scroll-y down, you can see a fat prompt here. Now, what might this be? Well, this is how we built this website. So the Mushroom Fleet Claude Skills website, which is all the skills that are on the Mushroom Fleet GitHub, all of these skills, what is it? I don't even know, 23 of them. We cloned all, so in one prompt, we've cloned all the repos from a single list that I typed, and then did everything. It went and got all of the information from the readmes for the dedicated page. It gives the link to the GitHub from the Git clone. You Git cloned it, right? So it knows what the URL is. And essentially gives you everything. It tags it. So I could search here for Kojima. I get Kojima, right? So, and it's grouped it into design and builders principles. So like I said, it's hard to see because it's kind of small, but I'll read it out. So 1, clone all the repos to the project. So I'm assuming you're working with 25 repos. Now I would hope you agree, currently that's too many. You can't do that. It's too many because you've only got a tiny window, right? Well, this is how you can get around it. So you can edit this prompt, which I've given away, to whatever you're doing. So we can begin the creation of a new website which will act as a front end to educate and showcase the Claude Code web skills I have published. We will use a card-based tiled grid with metadata derived from each folder, linking to the GitHub repo and using the README MD inside each folder to fill out a dedicated page for each skill, building a comprehensive skill directory for visitors to easily find skills. Yep, that's one. we will need a dedicated grouping for the dash building principles skill. So here I'm saying any folders that end with this need to be in their own collection. And so I've got another line, same thing, any that end with profile builder skill. So obviously these are like, it's pattern searching. So if you have a lot of folders and some of them end in a certain way, this is a way you can say, hey, those collections need to be in a collection. And he easily sorted both of them, no problem, okay? Every folder contains at least one skill and a README MD with information we can take for the page dedicated to each skill. So this is the bit I get around the problem. Due to the number of skill and the size of the website, we will be processing one folder per response and appending to a separate skill metadata list.md as we process the data in the workspace. That will make him stop every time he does the folder. He'll look at the folder, do the thing, append to the file, and go, can I continue? Obviously, you don't have to make him stop, but it does make sure that he doesn't try to do it all in one shot and run out of context. That's the goal when you've got a large piece of data you want to analyze, yeah? Website we will build, we'll be building a new folder created for the website source /web. Okay, so that means he can't just cheat and build it in their workspace and then you have to like mess around with what's included. Make him build an entirely new standalone in the web folder, right? Note, we will not include any .skill, .zip or any source files because we link to the correct GitHub repo instead. Notice how I didn't give him a URL because when you git clone something, there is a file which he can read that has it. This will be an introductory showcase highlighting all of the collections and skills that are available at the time of writing. Do not try to do this in one shot. Read each subfolder, add the metadata to the central list artifact one at a time until all folders are processed. Once we confirm all the metadata and URLs we need are known and noted, we can write the front-end HTML with external JS CSS. We will likely need to split into multiple pages for this website design, create using a central template strategy, bronze, mint, dark mode theme. Bronze, mint, dark mode. Yep, check. I think we got it. I think we got bronze. Yep. Okay. Bronze, mint, dark mode theme. And then my universal tins paragraph at the end. We can write these detailed instructions inside a new markdown artifact named skills website plan. That would be the name of whatever this is you're doing. Semantic plan naming. Yeah. Skills website plan. Using the tin skill. So that would be installed in your Claude code. It's on the repos. Including all the steps and code required to complete the implementation. That's it. One shot. He'd build the whole thing. Okay. All right. Do we have an app yet? Or are you still collie-wobbling? Is he still building? Yeah, he's still building, guys. Oh, wow, look at that. You got the full screen version now. I never even checked that yet. No apps promoted yet. It's a very cool green. I don't know why they chose that green. It's kind of... Do we have a log file? Can we get a log file? So create an advanced calculator app. Right, let me see. Build log exported. Oh, no, I just want to see what he's done because, you know, check his work, right? Because it's kind of, that's the only thing. It's like totally silent. You have to just accept it. Refresh. Okay, what do we got? Different program is opening. Error opening file, yeah. Wait, what? Right, what's it saying? Sorry about the extreme whiteness. Let's see. Following conversation. User. Create advanced scientific calculator app Claude streaming. So that means he's still working. Can we get the tins? I think that is the tins. Let me just double check. Yeah, it looks like that's the same file. Oh, that's empty. Something went wrong. Something went wrong. What we do? What we do? Build. I don't think it's worth it. All right, like I said, this is a work in progress. We'll come back to this one. But it does work. It does work, but again, it's still a work in progress. So obviously something broke. What did I do? It might be that I'm just not giving it enough time, because it does take time on the first run to install it all and do it, because it's going to do everything. So I think that what they do in the chats on the cloud is they already have a virtual machine that has your like default project already installed, and so then when he writes the code, all he has to do is put that snippet in the app.tsx, and then that copy is now your app. You see what I mean? So he doesn't actually have to do all of that, and I do that in this, but it's the first time I installed it, so there it is, guys. I'm not gonna, but this one's a lot more complicated than the JSX version. But anyway, I'll open source the JSX version. You can check that out. It's just an interesting idea, and it's a route to the full, the dream, which is the full local development studio, just running off a local model, and that's the dream, if you ask me. All right, what do we got? Oh yeah, that's it. I wanted to show you the edit stuff, but I can't. So that'll be next week as well. More stuff to look forward to. All right, guys, we went a little bit over time, but I'm actually good with it. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. We'll be back next Sunday, same time, same place. I might start early. I'll keep an eye on the Discord. Yeah, I think I might have broken it, Dragon. I think I might have broken it. But to be fair, that is the first time I've tested that. It's the first test on a new machine, so it's like raw. That's all right. I'll own my fails. I own my fails. But I'm pretty confident that this will work. Yeah, see, there isn't even a tins yet, so it didn't really work. Something went wrong, but we'll fix it. So then, I will see you all next week. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.